A new update in the Pooh Shiesty case has been revealed, and it's looking very concerning. Here's why Pooh Shiesty is looking at facing life in prison. We need to talk about this, so let's get straight into it. Now, in the court hearing for Pooh Shiesty, very recently, a rule was laid out in the courtroom. This is called the 10-20 life rule. This means you'll be put into prison for 10 years if you pull out a firearm without a license in public. 20 years in prison if you pull out that firearm and you use it without defending yourself, but no one in the end was affected by it. Then you'll be sentenced to 25 years to life in prison if you pull out a firearm, use it towards someone, and that person is then affected by it. Now, Pooh Shiesty was caught by a witness and surveillance cameras using a firearm towards 3 individuals that were all affected by it. Now, when this was told to the courtroom, we saw Pooh Shiesty enter the courtroom wearing what's called a turtle suit. So when you're in jail, if you're having a very hard time, caught crying in your jail cell by a security guard, and things in that nature, law enforcement will take your clothes and they'll give you this suit to wear instead, as you cannot do any harm with this suit on as you could with regular clothing. Now, it's a very sensitive subject, but Pooh Shiesty has been silent for the last few months due to how severe his court cases are. The odds of Shiesty getting sentenced to life in prison is very high. Recently, Pooh Shiesty told the judge in his case that he will change his plea to guilty for the incident of using a firearm towards 2 individuals. This would be in exchange for a lesser sentence. Many say that this is a cry for help by Pooh Shiesty, as he is facing federal armed robbery charges in this case with a maximum of life in prison if convicted. While in the courtroom, they laid out what really happened in both of Pooh Shiesty's court cases that nobody even knows about. In the first case, it states that Pooh Shiesty went to go meet 2 individuals inside of a parking lot. Shiesty arrives driving a bright green McLaren sports car with his friend in the passenger seat. When Shiesty and his boy arrived, they hopped out of the vehicle and met the 2 men. They were originally supposed to buy high-end sneakers as well as some narcotics before eventually flying out. At the time, Shiesty was wearing a mask over his face, which made it extremely hard for law enforcement to figure out who it was on all of the security cameras that were surrounding the parking lot. Now, everything was going normal. Shiesty was showing these 2 men about his McLaren, what it can do, as well as just sharing information about it. Now, when the transaction was about to go down for the goods, that's when Shiesty allegedly went silent, pulled the firearm out of his waistband, and used it towards the 2 individuals that tried escaping the parking lot. He ended up hitting one man in the hip and the other one in the backside. While the 2 individuals were running away, Shiesty grabbed the sneakers and narcotics and rushed directly into his McLaren. While doing so, a bag that was stuffed into his door pocket ended up falling out of his vehicle when he opened up his car. And this Louis Vuitton bag would then be left behind at the parking lot. In this Louis Vuitton bag, there was $40,912 in cash, more than enough money to pay for these goods. But after the incident went down, Shiesty headed directly to the airport. He rented a private jet and flew out of there before law enforcement even had the chance of arresting him. This then leads us into his second court case. This one starts at the King of Diamonds Club. Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty was performing for a crowd. During his performance near the start, Pooh Shiesty was seen having $40,000 in cash sitting in his skinny jeans pocket. According to the arrest warrant, Pooh Shiesty was performing at this club and got a little too close to the crowd, as somebody in the crowd was able to knock the stack of cash out of his back pocket. $40,000 worth of cash then plopped onto the floor of the club. Everybody in the crowd surrounded the money, grabbed it, and ran directly out of the club. Pooh Shiesty ended up hopping onto the floor with the crowd, trying to get his own money back, but he had no luck in doing so. This is when Shiesty then stormed out of the club after the individuals, but while exiting the club, from somebody recording in the back row, Shiesty was seen grabbing a firearm out of his waistband. A few moments later in that same video, all you hear is a firearm being used outside of the club, and witnesses on the outside claim that Pooh Shiesty pulled a firearm out and used it against a security guard who works at the club. When the firearm went off, everybody that was inside of the club started going insane. They started flipping over tables, ducking for cover. Nobody knew exactly what was even going on. But after it was all said and done, Shiesty then allegedly handed over the firearm to one of his boys, who exited the scene and was never seen again. And this is where it starts to get interesting, as the security guard who was affected in this situation no longer wants to press charges on Pooh Shiesty. Now, the security guard takes back all statements he gave to law enforcement at the scene. He now claims that he doesn't remember if he saw Shiesty aim and use a firearm towards him. This is due to the paramedics that arrived to the scene giving him some sort of medicine to help deal with the pain. This now makes him no longer want to press charges. All of this new information will become present to the judge at one of his next court hearings. But just because he no longer wants to press charges doesn't mean that Shiesty will just be off of the hook for using a firearm in public. And if you ask me, it sounds like the security guard was paid quite a bit of money. This then leads us into the evidence files that was revealed at the latest court hearing. Now, in this court case, you're gonna see this Instagram photo of Pooh Shiesty being used against him. This photo, you see Shiesty standing on a bright green McLaren sports car. Now, you're not gonna believe this, but Pooh Shiesty posted this selfie the same day he ended up doing a robbery with this vehicle. The next piece of evidence is the Louis Vuitton bag that was holding $40,912 in cash. So this is being used against Shiesty, as after the robbery went down, with the bag falling out of the vehicle into the parking lot, the feds were actually able to download several photos of Pooh Shiesty doing the money stretch across his body thing. And well, they zoomed in on those photos and were able to match the serial numbers on one of the $100 bills that they found in the bag with one of them that was found in the Instagram photo. Now, I don't know if Shiesty just has the worst luck of all time, or if he's just not the smartest of rappers. But all of that evidence will be getting used against Shiesty in court. In the first case, with him using the firearm towards two individuals, was all caught on camera. So that evidence is hard evidence that will most likely not be able to be defeated. But anyways, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and don't forget to leave a like on the video. We're uploading every day in the month of December, so turn on the post notifications as well. Anyways, it's been District Trending and I'm out. Peace.